Hey, this is the World Advice Channel 2. What I want to talk about today is the topic of will Trump win the war in Iran? So, for this video, I'm going to explain in a simple and straightforward way the topic of will Trump actually be able to defeat Iran if it ever escalates into a full-scale war, let alone this war with the way it's going now, in a simple and straightforward way. So even those unfamiliar with this topic can understand it, okay? So if you're interested in knowing if Trump will win the war in Iran or not, watch this video in order to find out. So now I mentioned that, let's get started. So when it comes to the topic of will Trump win the war in Iran, even in an unbiased way, even of course it's a left-wing person, so obviously I might be preemptive to bias or not. The truth is, even without biases allowed, simply put it, no. I do not believe Trump will win the war in Iran. Now, to be fair though, of course every war America has fought, especially since World War II, I do believe America, if they have this conflict continue on for a longer period of time, I do believe they will have higher murders of the opposing side and murders of themselves. To be honest with you, while maybe like a few hundred, a few thousand at the most, Americans will die for Iran will easily be tens of thousands or even over 100,000, to be honest with you, which obviously still in a sense kind of shows America's military might, just like how people, especially a lot of Vietnamese people, like to brag, oh, we defeated America in Vietnam. Well, oh yeah, yes, you did defeat America, but at the same time, you only really beat them because they just didn't do a good job, everything from promoting the war to like encouraging people why the war in Vietnam is a good thing, like how will it benefit America and all that type of shit, to be quite blunt and honest with you. And just even the fact that America didn't have much of a strategy for that matter, let alone a vision of what they wanted to do. So yes, you did beat America, but when you look at the amount of casualties the Viet Cong had compared to Americans, like Americans at the most had maybe like 40,000 to 60,000. I know it's about 60,000, I believe, American servicemen who died. For the Viet Cong, it was easily over hundreds of thousands, like 500,000 minimum to more who died. So is that really much of a victory? Like, okay, we won, but you only won because you didn't have people who even fought the war in the first place because they actually wanted to win. You fought a war against people just more in it for the money, and even still, you took way more casualties than the opposing side, who you're fighting against, of course, America did. So it's not like you really won in a traditional way. So that's what I'm trying to get across here. I want to make it clear to people I'm not being biased here. I'm not picking a fucking side, despite my obviously political leanings. I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible to keep this shit as fresh as possible, let alone the quality of this video as fresh as possible, okay? So I'm not trying to put my personal biases. Of course, America's going to have more casualties on the opposing side than none. But at the same time, the question, of course, is, are they going to win the war? And I just don't, when it comes to looking at the facts, I do not think America's going to win, okay? Because the truth of the matter when it comes to America's war in Iran, let's keep it real. As we all know, especially us outside of America, let's not be PC and sugarcoat shit. They're only fighting this war because they want a distraction, okay? Whether it could be a distraction because Trump is not actually fixing the inflation issue in America. Inflation is still terrible, to the fact that obviously as well, no shit, no surprise, just to add insult to injury, for him at least, he's obviously in a world of shit because of the Epstein files, because, which I think everyone has kind of realized, yeah, he's just creating a war in Iran because he wants to create a distraction in order to distract from the Epstein files, like whatever. To sum it up, it's a distraction from the fact that he's not a very good president. Whether it could be down to how well he does things politically, or even just who he is as a person. He's a horrible person in every way. He's a failed businessman. He's a terrible person. He probably slept with little girls. And of course, no surprise, he's not actually living up to his campaign promises he said he was going to do. He's a terrible president. So he's using the war in Iran to kind of distract people, okay? He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, to answer your question, okay? And the truth of the matter is, when it comes to the war in Iran that he's having, like, I just don't think he's going to win because it doesn't seem like he has much of an objective. Like, what is his objective for Iran, He already took out the people who absolutely were the ones who were causing the problems anyway, pretty much. Like the Ayatollah and his, or whatever you like to call it, the ruler, the religious ruler of Iran. He killed him, and he killed a lot of the high-profile people who actually, supported him and stuff. He killed them. Not to mention, he obviously did a lot of things that anyone who would have had a problem with Iran pretty much would have been able to kind of do. He did everything that pretty much you could pretty much want to do, okay? But when it comes to actually actual mission, what the fuck does he want? Does he want to get rid of Iran's nuclear program? Does he want a full-blown regime change? What is his objective for this war? And it doesn't seem like there's really much of any, which is exactly the point. It's supposed to be a distraction. Because when you win a war, okay, you have to have a vision. What is your goddamn vision? Okay, that is what I'm talking about, and that's why America keeps on losing wars ever since the Korean War. Pretty much every war they fought. Vietnam, even Desert Storm, I think they kind of technically lost to the Iraq and Afghanistan war. Yes, they killed more of the opposing enemy than the opposing enemy were able to kill Americans, but at the same time, they still kind of lost pretty much because they didn't have a vision. What exactly is your goddamn vision? Okay, and that's what they didn't have in mind. You might say, well, their vision was to create a regime change and a stable government so they could leave. Yes, yes, smarty pants, yes, they did. But how exactly are you going to do it? What is your plan to do it properly? And that's what I'm talking about. That's where critical thinking comes in the mix, my friend. Which, let's be honest, a lot of conservatives do not have. They don't have any critical thinking. It's like saying, oh, I want to win a war with a country, because I want to protect this other country from it. So I'm going to defeat them. But what exactly is your vision of how you're going to do it? What are you going to do? Are you going to destroy their weapons depot so they surrender? Are you going to try to attack the main capital of their headquarters so they surrender? What is your vision? And that's what I'm trying to say here. When it comes to Trump's war around, what the fuck is his vision? I don't hear any fucking vision of what he wants to do. So how can you win a war if you don't have a vision? And that's exactly what I'm trying to say. And that's how we get to the fact that aside from that, Iran is a very large country, okay? And even though their military is not, of course, on par with that of America, even Canada, Britain, Germany, and a lot of NATO countries, they still have a pretty decent fighter force, okay? They're not like the ones they fought in Iraq and Afghanistan. These people are pretty damn well trained. Not as trained as Americans, but they are pretty well trained, okay? And I want to make that clear to people, okay? They are pretty good at what they're doing, okay? So not only are these people pretty good at what they're doing, most of Iran is mountainous. So how the hell are the Americans going to win a war, God forbid, if they have to launch a full-blown invasion? So how exactly? And that's what I'm trying to get across here. No matter how you look at it, whether it's supposed to be a special operations war without having to put really a huge amount of Americans on the ground, how are they going to win that? Because they don't seem to have a vision. And even if they want to fully defeat the nation in terms of a full-scale invasion, how are they going to do that? When their whole nation is so mountainous and has so many people who would be more than willing to fight against America, okay? And that's how I'm getting to the other things as well. First and foremost, when it comes to Americans, fighting interests, it's already been proven Gen Z's recruitment rates are down dramatically when it comes to them serving the military because they don't want to serve in the military. Gen Z in general don't want to serve in the military because the government has done a terrible job in actually doing things properly for their own country, okay? So that's first and foremost. Secondly, when it comes to why Americans would not be willing to fight in this war, it also comes on the fact that Americans are more focused on developing their own nation. This is not the 2000s anymore. Americans are not really interested in fighting another fucking foreign war, let alone are not really interested in foreign conflicts and what's even going outside of America for that matter, okay? What they're focused on nowadays is they're going through a stage which America does all the time. One period of time they're interested in the world, then they lose interest and they become isolationist, and they're going through that isolationist phase now. So what exactly do you think they have any interest in, of course, what's going on in Iran? if they're just focused on how can we actually make sure there's enough food to eat at home and stuff. And that's exactly what I'm trying to say here, okay? So that's what I'm trying to get across here. So how exactly are you gonna be willing to win a war if your people are not really willing to fight in the first place for the reasons I gave, let alone the fact that Iran has a country that has quite a bit of people who are more than willing to fucking fight against America. Even the people who hated the Shah and his regime, you think they want foreign Americans on their soil so they can bother them and do all the evil things they actually were doing to a lot of Iraqi and Afghanistanis, which is why many of them, even who once welcomed Americans originally, actually wanted them to leave. That's what I'm trying to say here. So, in short, to answer your question, um, if this war in Iran is not going to get anywhere, there's not America's not going to win. I think it's going to be a draw. There's going to be a lot of tension, a lot of talk, and it's eventually going to end because there's not only is there not a vision of what they want to do. The American people are not really willing to fight, but the Iranian people are sure as hell willing to. So, in short, Trump will lose this war in Iran, and that is off to say. And simply put, I'm out. Bye.